All right. Welcome back to another edition of the Other League Pod. It's Nye. Good to have you back. Uh, big win for you this week. We'll get to that, but how you feeling?
I'm good, man. Yeah, we're coming on Wednesday here, coming off the NFL trade deadline yesterday. Nothing else going on in the world yesterday. But yeah, so we're moving with that. But yeah, dude, finally, and we'll get into the matchups. But yeah, man, I'm good. How are you?
Tough loss to Arby's, but yeah, things 6-3. Can't complain too much. But the Packers are on bye this week, so I don't have to stress too much about my own team.
There
So
you
that'll be
go.
nice.
Yeah, Sunday.
Um,
So I was just sorry to
oh,
interrupt.
God,
Sunday was
God,
nice for me. You got a Jets win on Thursday. It's always nice whenever like your team's on a
relax.
bye or like they play on Thursday and you get a win. You don't have to like sweat it. You can kind of just like enjoy the games.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it'll be nice to. I mean, I didn't catch much of it. I had some stuff going on at 4 o'clock. So, I mean, I caught basically the second half. I didn't really see the first half too much of the pack. So it's whatever. I mean, they slow start, but it is
Yeah.
what it is. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, tough matchup. I mean, Lions are just they're just a buzzsaw. Best
They really
offense
are.
in
I
the league,
mean, and they
arguably.
our defense played pretty well. So, I mean, I can't hate on that. But
Be fine.
um, I'm trying to share my screen. I don't know why it's not letting me share it. Let me see here real quick. There we go. This thing's being a little funny to me today. All right, here we go. It's
Heard.
well, we're gonna try to change it up a little bit just for the listeners. I think both of us kind of agreed that I think looking ahead is a little bit more fun and we can dive into the matchups a little bit more than just going into kind of a quick rundown of predictions towards the end of the ep. So we'll kind of just go into so kind of touch on a couple guys like we said maybe from the matchups from week 9 and hopefully look kind of look forward. I mean we only got a few weeks left of the regular season, so um, things are starting to take shape in the other league, which is kind of fun. Um,
Hell
Let's
yeah.
start with mine. Let's start with mine. I mean,
Yep.
Anthony and I both went with this big matchup coming into it. I mean, a lot of points. I'll say that was a high projection week to start out with, and Arby's takes me out. I mean, he had a hell of a week. 131 is nothing to sneeze at. Had a big week, kind of really from everyone. It felt like besides his tight end spot. So kind of just running down the list here. I mean, just from his standpoint, I mean, Jalen Hurts. I mean, they're starting to figure it out. I think a little bit that offense. I mean, now AJ Brown injury, we'll see what happens and how long he's out. But Hurts looks good the last few weeks. Kind of scary as an Eagles fan, but they pull it out. Really nothing else to highlight. I mean, he's got to love getting Cooper Cup back. I mean, that Puka ejection probably kind of catapulted him a little bit to get a little bit more touches. But I mean, he's kind of doing his thing. The last two games, just getting just a ton of looks. I mean, 8 and 14. God, that's nice. Yeah, I mean, and Chase Brown. God, I had to face him in 2 leagues. Sucks. It's the guy had it felt like a career day for the guy, but and that backfield got a little bit more clarity with that Zach Moss injury, I think, and they just picked up what Herbert on the trade deadline there. So I think Chase Brown's certainly the guy that they're going to run with, and he looks good. He's looked good all year, to be honest with you. So Arby gets a good week. 130 is a hell of a point total. I didn't expect much. Thought, hey, if Baker throws for 4 touchdowns on Monday night, maybe I could steal one, but still looked pretty good. He still looked pretty good, even though he has no weapons. But yeah, really not much to highlight on my side. I mean, I got to 120. I can't be too upset. Um, had some big weeks from my receivers, but yeah, Drake London getting hurt too. That sucked. I was texting Ben during that on Sunday. I was like, dude, that first drive, he looked like he was just destined to have like another like 30 or 40. I mean, he just looks so good. I mean, 2 catches, but that, the one of them in the end zone just, I don't know. I just think he would have had a nice week against Dallas, I think. But hey, he gets in the end zone, gets me 10, so can't complain. Yeah, just a good matchup here. Better man won. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, two high scoring teams. I mean, I think both you and Ben will probably should make the playoffs. I mean, both rosters are caliber. I did want to highlight Chase Brown on Ben's side. Um, he's really emerged as obviously Cincinnati's RB1 now with Zach Moss, I think probably out for at least the regular season. They
100%.
pick up Khalil Herbert for a seventh. I've been seeing like Chase Brown's been getting a lot better in pass pro, which allows him to stay on the field on third downs in passing situations, which is pretty big for his usage. I think Ben kind of always levied whenever he drafted both of them that one of them was going to hit.
Sure.
Um, and I think it's kind of played out where Chase Brown has taken, that job and kind of run with it. And he, like you said, he does just like look really explosive. He had that massive
It's
run to end
fast.
the game against the Giants. And you kind of saw that burst that he had. But yeah, I mean, with Chase Brown and I think with his two receivers, St. Brown and Cup, and then Hurts playing as well as he is, and even Laporta and Brian Thomas having less than impressive games. Laporta has been a massive disappointment from a fantasy perspective. Um,
Big time.
but Brian Thomas, yeah, I think he's still like a top 10 receiver in points per game. So I think his outlook going forward is pretty solid. And kind of the same with yours. I mean, you have a lineup where you kind of just like set it every week and it doesn't change too much. You kind of got your guys that are locked into their spots, so there's not much that you need to necessarily think about. But I
No,
mean,
not
Zay
really.
Flowers has been awesome this year. That was one of the more underrated, really good picks from the draft season. But yeah, man, I mean, good matchup, and I expect both of you guys will probably be cruising toward the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I'll follow it up just because I drafted Zay Flowers. I mean, I kind of was high on him just from his rookie campaign last year. Baltimore's so many weapons, you never really know. I mean, the guy wasn't really getting into the end zone, honestly, on a consistent basis at all this year. I mean, he's getting a ton of work, but just not finding the end zone. So it was kind of nice to see him get in twice on Sunday. So we'll see. I mean, they're still getting Deontay Johnson acclimated. They got a lot of weapons on that offensive front. So, but he does look like the true number one. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, to your point, my lineup is my lineup. I'm extremely top heavy. I don't really have too many guys on my bench to kind of look forward to in terms of just kind of like flopping guys out in and out. And I don't have too many buys left, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm hoping to get Pacheco back too at some point, so we'll see. Um, oops, I did this last week too. Clicked on the ad. Come on, bring me back. There we go. Okay, sorry.
You're good.
Good to you. What a
Matchups
week
are,
from
the other matchups are underneath these ones.
what's that?
If you're on that, you can just scroll.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Well,
Um,
you gave me the reins this year, so this is what
we're good.
happens.
We're good.
Um, Go
Um,
ahead, take it away. This is your guys. This is
yeah,
your
finally,
matchup, and
I think I lost like a three match losing streak. Had the game that I thought I was going to get with Burrow last week against Vegas. Kind of one of the reasons I traded for him. He's been a top five quarterback this year so far. And this is the kind of performance that I thought he would have. I mean, I don't think he's going to throw five touchdowns every week, but kind of in that 20 plus, kind of 20 to 28 range most weeks. They're throwing the ball at an insane rate. Neighbors gets there with his standard double digits. Josh Jacobs has been so steady. He's honestly one of the steadiest running backs. And if he does, even
yeah,
if he doesn't score, he's still like a guaranteed 12 points. Um,
been great. Yes.
Evan Ingram has been really solid since I traded for him.
Yep.
Top 10 tight end. And then the massive week from Jackson Smith and Jigba, who I originally wasn't going to play. I thought about going two tight ends and playing Hawkinson when he was activated, but felt like they didn't have any other options. I thought that could be sort of a shootout. So I just left JSN in and he ended up hitting. I didn't think this was in his range of outcomes, but they actually opened up his route tree. Instead of just using him underneath, I think he had like 13 targets.
Yeah,
Um,
something like that. It
and
was
then, yeah, he
yeah.
had 13
Yep.
targets, and I know they used him a lot more downfield than they did before, and he looked awesome. So hopefully that sticks, even with DK coming back. Maybe they can use him. And I think JSN leads the league in slot rate from the wide receiver position that I saw. That was one of the stats that I saw. But yeah, so he's been a really good addition for me. He's been steady at least, and then this game obviously helps me in a week. And then the Jets D home against Houston kind of levied what
Yep.
they did last year. It actually ended up working out. It was a very similar game script to last year where they sacked Stroud 8 times. They pressured him on, I think they had something like 20 plus pressures that game. Um, but they sort of had Stroud's number at home at least, and that's evident from, his 11.5 on
Yep.
Logan. And then everyone else pretty much on Lokes, no one really stood out except for Kamara getting as much work as he's gotten. Tyreek Hill in Buffalo only gets 12. Um, Brock Bowers obviously gets there, but then everyone else kind of fell short. So huge win for me. Hopefully this could be, maybe the start of something. I have a really tough matchup this week, but happy to at least get off I think a 3 game losing streak.
Yeah, I mean, going on to just the bastard side, I mean, I do, kind of try to coordinate a little bit. Just I do want to get a rant or some sort of tidbit from him and try to get him on at some point, just because he is reeling right now. Unfortunately, I mean, I think this is his fifth straight loss. I want to say, I mean, something along those lines. It's rough. So it's been a rough sled for him, and kind of losing some key pieces now, and kind of scrambling in his lineup. It's tough. And the guys that he kind of picked early and tried to rely on, and even with Tua back, I mean Tyreek getting 12. I mean it's just not enough. It's you had 140, so kind of beating a dead horse here. He would have needed a huge week to even kind of compete with you, but um, CJ Stroud just hasn't been probably the guy that he really kind of realistically picked. I want to say maybe around that round 6 range. I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, you know, kind of on the not necessarily a higher pick for a quarterback because that's kind of the range that some of those guys go, but definitely not the output he's been getting from CJ Stroud. And then with the Diggs injury now, I mean, he kind of loses that stack a little bit that he kind of was kind of hoping for, I would say. So Kamara's been great, and Brock and Bowers has been awesome, but that's pretty much it on Logue's side. So we'll see. I know he just threw in Tank Dell, so he's got that piece coming in now this week. So hopefully, if Nico Collins doesn't play, he does have kind of that outlet. But we'll see. I mean, outside of that, he's going to be really I think kind of struggling to get to that 115 mark with this lineup unless you have some boom weeks from Tyreek or from CJ Stroud because the rest of his lineup kind of is what it is. So yeah, not the year that we're accustomed to for the Bastards. He's kind of a perennial, definitely a perennial playoff team, and certainly a team that's kind of always in the hunt. Had a few years where I mean, outright probably should have won it. Anthony kind of noted that year that he had that Ant kind of upset him, and that was probably the year that one of those years where you knew there was one team that definitely had the best lineup, and it was him. So yeah, tough. He's been oddly quiet too. I mean, I guess that's probably why it's 3-6. But yeah, we haven't heard a lot from the commish this year. So hopefully we can get him on, get some I don't know, some feedback from the guy. I feel like we need a rant from him. But
Be
yeah,
nice.
good,
Yeah,
great, great.
five
Five
straight
straight.
losses. Yeah, CJ
Wow.
Stroud took him in the fourth, and
Fourth.
I think when he took Stroud, he anticipated him having a year that Burrow's having this year,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
high touchdown rate, and I thought the Dell trade was pretty shrewd, um, for both sides.
I agree.
If he comes back for Rick, then or if Evans comes back for Rick, I should say. I think it could work out. But yeah, we'll see on Nico Collins TBD. But even so, I think even with Nico coming back, I think Tank could actually still get there.
Yeah, no, I like it definitely more for like from Logue's standpoint than Rick's because I mean Evans is going to be out at least this week and then he has the bye, so kind of interesting one. But we'll see. Maybe Rick's just hoping that he has him back for maybe a playoff run if he gets that push. So we'll see. Another 2-6 team. I picked a lot of 2-6 teams last week on the pod, so a couple came to fruition, thank God. But Phil takes out the Beeve. It kind of was kind of relatively kind of straightforward, I would say, just from the projection standpoint and just kind of who Nils had to roll out. I mean, it was definitely not a normal Beeve team, and he would have been happy to kind of steal one. He's kind of flirted around all year. We kind of noted on his points against that he's been certainly the beneficiary of some we'll say some subdued weeks where he's not like necessarily killing teams. I mean, he's got a good team, but points against does scream that he's had some luck for sure in terms of his matchups. So you need a little of that to be 7-1. So yeah, I don't think it's anything to necessarily kind of scream that he's in trouble. He's still 7-2 and sitting tied in terms of record wise for the top of the league. But Phil's got to be feeling a little bit happy. Getting that 3-6 mark. He's hunting down a playoff spot. Everything's really tight. He's got a good amount of points too, so he's certainly in the hunt. That Olave injury was brutal. Yeah, it was really tough to watch. I mean, really bad throw by Carr too to throw him into that spot. But
Ball.
um, yeah, just I mean, hospital ball, man. Like across the middle. I mean, I get it, but yeah, just that was a scary injury. And outside of that, we kind of, I mean, same stuff really from Phil's side. I think. I mean, Kirk Cousins was a nice pickup. I mean, Anthony dropped him for Mahomes, so um, I'm sure he's happy to throw him in his lineup of Atlanta Falcons. It seems like Colombian Falcons. He's got all kinds of guys from that offense, but overall seem to be hit. I mean, Pitts comes down to earth a little bit, but his running backs are good. I mean, Bijan gets to 20. Pollard's been awesome. And Aaron Jones, I mean, just gets 12, but it's still really good offense. So, I mean, if that's your flex, that's not a bad thing. And damn, the Commanders, man, they look good. Terry McLaurin, man, he doesn't really do anything but catch two touchdowns in that game, but he's performing. I think I feel like he always goes kind of flies under the radar because of the team he's on, but kind of forget how talented he is. I love Terry McLaurin. He's fun to watch. And he's finally getting, I feel like finally has a quarterback, yeah, that he
Thank
can kind of
God.
rely on. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's
God.
cool to see his little fantasy renaissance, so to speak, because I thought he was always really talented. So
We've been waiting
yeah,
for we've been waiting for it for a while with McLaurin. He was in like that DJ Moore kind of role, and it's kind of ironic that Phil has Chris Olave because I wonder if concussions aside, I wonder if Chris Olave is kind of doomed to that same sort of fate where he's just like we're just waiting. He's so good, we're just waiting for him to get a quarterback. We're just waiting for him to get a quarterback, and it's cool that McLaurin finally has one. DJ Moore last year with Justin Fields. Now Justin Fields, I don't think is great, but he at least made DJ Moore like a wide receiver one in fantasy. So it's awesome to see Terry McLaurin
sure.
finally getting there with Jaden Daniels, who's just an absolute stud. Yeah, Bijan. Just touching on Bijan for a second, he's been awesome. After the first couple weeks, I mean, and
For 20s in
Bijan
a
like
row.
he never really busted this year. He was always kind of like he was always really solid. But the last
Yep.
4 weeks, he's just been a monster. I think he's the RB1 over the last 4 weeks, if I'm not mistaken.
He's got to be.
Um,
Look at those numbers.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think he is, and he's really been coming on. He's starting to get way more usage in the passing game, and
Yeah.
he looks insane. So, yeah, Phil seems primed to kind of make a run here. I mean, Tony Pollard he's dominating work.
So
Tyler
good.
still on the shelf, um, and then he's just kind of been streaming quarterbacks, but
He's
they've
set
been
now.
they've been kind of coming through. So Phil's team's pretty boom or bust, I think. I think his totals kind of fluctuate week to week, but I think any week he could put up a huge point total. And then just like on Nils' side, I think he was definitely due for
Yeah.
um for a loss. He was kind of getting there with wins at less than 100 in the 90s. Who knows what the outlook with Lamb is going to be. I think he can still
Sure.
get there with Cooper Rush. But that Dallas is just they're like the bastards, man. They're just free falling.
A
Um,
mess.
and then Nils, he's got McBride, he's got Kyler, but hopefully Brian Robinson and DK can get back in a couple weeks. I think Brian Robinson should play this week.
Yep.
Then he gets Najee back. But so we'll see. I mean, hopefully DK can get back to form, but because those are obviously two huge pieces to his team. But we'll see. I mean, Nils is still 7-2, like he should make the playoffs. And
Hmm.
once you get into the playoffs, you kind of like anything can happen. So
Yep.
but yeah,
Yeah.
good week for
I
Phil.
think. Yeah, I think you're spot on with Nils' assessment. Obviously, he's got just catching the injury bug. I mean, obviously a few bye weeks this week, but yeah, I mean, and then with CMC coming back, he's going to lose Mason, so he's going to have to rely on Harrison and Brian Robinson to kind of steady that ship because I don't think even if ETN does get healthy, there's no way they can't, that Bigsby can't get a little work in that backfield just the way that he's been this year. So, yeah, and then like you said, I mean, I think CD Lamb, as long as he's healthy with that shoulder, who else are they going to throw the ball to? So I mean,
Jonathan Mingo, baby. Fourth
God,
round
yeah,
pick for Jonathan Mingo. Everything is fixed.
Jerry Jones, just hire a GM, man. I mean, was that you're that prideful? I mean, just get a GM. You're the Cowboys. I mean, you're the laughing stock of the league right now. Laughing stock of like just the ownership group, I would say. So yeah, it's pathetic, but
Or just
yeah,
or
we'll see.
just or just don't trade Amari Cooper for a fifth round pick and then use a fourth on in subsequent years to get Trey Lance, who you're for some reason not gonna play. And then
Yeah,
his contract is expiring after this year, so I don't know what their plan is there. And then they traded a fourth for Jonathan freaking Mingo when they should have just kept Amari Cooper. But
yeah. I mean, all
conversation for
puzzling
another day.
moves, but yeah, exactly. I was just gonna say. I mean, we could dissect that as much as we want, but yeah, a lot of Eagles fans are happy to see how bad the Cowboys have been and what they've been doing this year. We'll say that. The Goose. The Goose has been loose this year, and he puts up
Keeps you
136.
rolling.
Gets back into first place. He flirted with it. I think he had a week or two where he was in first earlier this year. So pretty good matchup actually. It ends up being. I mean, Anthony gets to 116. He's been points have been tough to come by for Finkel this year, just with all the injuries. But yeah, I mean, 136, great number again. I mean, it's very rare that a team scores 136 and loses. Let's just be realistic in the way that we're set up in this league. So, starting Thursday night, I mean, I was kind of talking with Anth a little bit. We were working, flipping some pizzas on Halloween night, and sure enough, Garrett Wilson was catching touchdowns while we were taking pizzas out of the oven. So, tough to see from Anth's standpoint, but I'm sure as a Jets fan and as a fantasy owner of him. Really nice to see, their offense kind of getting off a little bit with, even with Devontae. Aaron Rodgers, you kind of noted, still doesn't look necessarily like spry. I mean, he's 4 years old. I guess he's not going to coming off Achilles injury, but he was pretty jacked up in the second half. I mean, he was fired up and I mean, he's got two studs. Devontae and Garrett Wilson are awesome. So that's huge for Aaron. I mean, just to have him next to Chase in your lineup, I mean, that's awesome to see. I mean, those are two studs. And for Garrett Wilson, I mean, not to say he's gonna put up 30 every week, but I mean, Jamar Chase good. So if you're gonna split weeks and those guys are putting up, 20 and 20, not a bad week. And the rest of his team is just super steady. I mean, he plays Jerry Judy again, gets him 14 in a pretty pathetic game. I can't believe, like, when I saw that, I'm like, you know, Jameis Winston was just throwing the ball everywhere, just not to his team. I can't believe he had 7 catches, Judy. Yeah, it was unbelievable. But and his running backs
Judy's been a low key really good stream
decent. Yeah.
for Aaron the past 2 weeks. He played Judy against me last week, and I think he got like 15 last week too.
Yeah.
So, and then I mean,
Well, but yeah,
you're
still, yeah.
12.9,
Yeah.
but hey, that's not bad for a flex.
It's a great play. Yeah. So I mean, he hits on honestly, pretty much his entire lineup hits. I mean, you get
Yeah.
10 plus, you get to that 136 mark. I mean, going over to Ant's side, I mean, Stevenson was probably, was a nice his running backs ended up being his best play. I mean, Chuba Hubbard's his best player, literally on a point standpoint. We were talking about that earlier in the week. I mean, kind of scary when Chuba Hubbard's your best player, but considering the mounting injuries that he had to face, it's understandable. And then of course Nakua gets ejected second game back, so idiot. But gotta feel good seeing Devontae Smith 2 weeks in a row catching bombs. So if AJ Brown is out, it's nice to see. It's nice to see Devontae Smith, kind of owning up to a little bit of where he was drafted at. I mean, I always think he's a better wide receiver too than or drafted that way, I should say. I don't know. I mean, maybe different different takes, but um, yeah, really really solid the last couple of weeks. Because that inconsistency with that offense early on was tough to watch, and Patrick Mahomes is starting to come to life too. So that was a nice. I think that was a good bid, especially considering from Anthony's standpoint. I knew he was going to flash for Hopkins. He doesn't play him this week, but I don't see how he doesn't get in his lineup for week 10. So
Yeah.
Yeah, 116, good outing. He gets some points. Right now, I mean, he's bottom of the barrel, obviously record wise, but points, I don't think it's going to even matter for Ant. He's like 100 down, so he's going to need just wins, to avoid the dress and the song. So more to come. He's got some bright spots coming out. CMC looked like he practiced limited wise today,
Yep.
so
Should be back.
um, think he'll probably play this week. So yeah, he's got some big names in his lineup. Hopefully this week. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think Ant's on at least an upward trajectory. It's interesting how a lot of the teams that were kind of down, in the standings at least, are sort of kind of on an upward trajectory.
Yep,
And we'll get to Rick's team in a little bit, but yeah, I think Ant's got a good team, even with with
and Ridley down there too. I forgot.
Stevenson or Chuba can go back to sort of like that RB2, RB3 on his team, and then he gets CMC in his RB1, and then his receivers with Puka and Smith and Hopkins every week. I mean, that's pretty solid.
Definitely.
We'll see. I mean, it's pretty cool that in this game, probably two of the most insane catches of the year were in in Garrett Wilson and then in Devontae Smith. Like, my goodness,
Yeah, that was. I
ridiculous.
mean,
Both of
well,
those catches were just unbelievable.
yeah. I mean, Wilson's probably flare out with like the Jordan-esque catch with the legs definitely made it. Um, it's totally different catch than the Odell thing. I know that was the whole debate,
Yeah,
but I mean, you know, six
nuts.
for one, half a dozen to another. I mean, you could pick
Yeah,
whichever one you want in those situations. I mean, both guys, both incredible catches. I mean, catch of the year for sure for
so
Garrett
sick.
Wilson so far. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, the Goose got to feel good. I mean, 7-2, he's rolling. His team looks good, and little top heavy as well, kind of like my team. Not a very deep bench, but um, he's finding ways to win. His lineup's good, so I mean, that's
yeah.
really all you need.
He's got two workhorse backs that he can kind of anchor around. And he also has a little bit of handcuff appeal with Trey Benson. I think that was a pretty solid pickup. So
He's gonna get some run.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I think Aaron, at least on paper, I think he has the best team, top to bottom.
Well,
We'll get to
we'll
we'll get
preview
to
that.
we'll get to Steve's team, but
Yeah, I was gonna say good segue for maybe potential rankings later if we have some time. But these last two matchups were literally came down to Monday night,
yep,
which is always fun. And this was an absolute shootout, kind of billed to be one on the projections. I mean, go ahead, take it away. I mean, we obviously were everyone was following it. I mean, pretty closely. I think once the messages went out from I think well, it started with Ryan necessarily in his matchup, but
yep,
yeah, kind of looking at that and then seeing this matchup, I'm like, oh shit,
yeah.
this is going to come down to the wire too. And then sure enough, Andy gets the overtime touchdown and skirts by what half a point to take most points this week.
Yeah, yeah, about half a point over me. So
Yep.
I missed out on that payout. But yeah, I mean, and huge week from Andy. He had, obviously gets the walk off from Kareem Hunt, but yeah, I mean, sucks about AJ Brown. We'll kind of see what happens there with his knee injury, but I mean, Devontae is starting to look a lot more comfortable with Rodgers again. I know they were off on a little bit, and Adams had a brutal drop on third down earlier in the
Mm-hmm.
game. Jets offense looked terrible in the first half, but then they came out and it was like a totally different team. Brees he's gonna get there every week. His floor is so high, even when he doesn't rip off huge runs. I still think they have to get him way more involved in the passing game. He looks awesome. And then Achan anytime Tua plays is like a top three running back in fantasy. He's an absolute monster. He gets so much freaking work. Um and he looks ridiculous. So yeah, I mean, Andy's got a really good team. Even on his bench, he has like two guys that I think, well, three depending on how you think of Taysom Hill, but even with Eckler, he's got like a really solid RB4, who can
Yeah.
kind of, be like a flex play if Robinson never misses. And then Jacoby Myers, who's just going to be, a target funnel in Vegas. It's a terrible offense, but Jacoby Myers he's a real good wide receiver in real life, and I think he's a pretty set it and forget it wide receiver three every week. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think Andy's team's kind of cruising to the playoffs. It's interesting, like how so many teams are kind of rounding out and a lot of teams' rosters are starting to look really, really solid. And then, I mean, I think Steve might have the best team in the league, top to bottom. Josh Allen is a machine every week. I want to highlight Kate Otten
We
because
said that last week. Yep.
Kate Otten has been, I think he's the
Beast.
tight end one over the tight end one over the last 3 weeks. He's like the tight end three on the year. He's like the focal point of their offense right now.
Definitely.
And he looks like his athletic profile isn't like spectacular, but he catches everything. He gets crushed on like every pass and reception. He makes tough catches. He's awesome in the red zone. Like I think that's there to stay. I think Otten could even be like a flex play some weeks.
For
And
sure.
then with even when Kittle comes back, and then he's got Dobbins on his bench. So I mean, yeah, it sucks to lose when you have 135. That's kind of just the way it goes sometimes. But um,
Yep.
yeah, Steve's, Gibbs, Kyron, Marvin
Si-
Harrison is probably going to
Silly
be a
team.
fixture on his bench moving forward. Maybe he'll
Hmm.
come in for spike weeks, and then I forgot even George Pickens was on a bye and he has Rico Dowdle. So like,
Yep.
yeah, Steve's team is solid top to bottom.
Yes. I think
I
Steve's
think he's
team.
gonna be a really tough out in the playoffs just because he has so many guys that he can plug in.
I was just gonna
Um,
say that he's
yeah,
so so deep.
yeah, yep, yeah,
Yeah. That's all I was gonna say. I mean, you kind of run through some of these guys. I mean, we just noted a couple guys on Andy's bench. It's rare that you can look through a team outside of their starting lineup and say how much depth they have, compared to like Steve. I mean, like we just mentioned. I mean, hate to say it because I kind of rib him every time on this pod about how much I hate seeing Steve win. So I love seeing a loss from him, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that I do think from top to bottom. I mean, he's got a hell of a team, and to your point, I mean, he gets. Kittle on by and you get to plug and play Kate Otten. I mean, that's not a bad
really,
situation. And like sometimes it is difficult. I will say that when you have a deep team, like you have almost too many decisions to make sometimes. So I mean that is tricky. Like you
yep,
said, kind of about my team, it's like a set and forget it. I don't really need to do anything outside of like injuries and buys.
yep,
But yeah, it doesn't hurt though because like I said, if he does, which he hasn't yet, suffer any injuries, he's kind of built in to have guys. He can just be like, okay, cool, I got Rico Dowdle or I got
yep.
J.K. Dobbins. He didn't even play this week. So, yeah, Steve's going to be a tough out. And he's I think destined for. I think he's going to finish in the top two, which this year doesn't really matter because all you got to do is finish one to get the bye. So,
Yep.
will be interesting.
He's
Um,
even got quarterback and
yeah,
defense depth. Like, I mean,
Chargers
yeah,
defense is so good.
they're playing really
Like
well. They have the
I
least
mean,
points allowed in the league.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah, so they're like, I didn't even realize that until I streamed them in another league, and I'm like, damn, these guys are like. It's like them,
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, Minnesota. Like
Yep.
there's like a Jets. The Jets are up there for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Harbaugh's got him playing
he's
really well.
they do. I mean, they look good.
Yeah.
And I mean, just from a team's perspective, they're starting to throw it too. So we'll see. And then the last 2-16 that I picked finally comes away with a win. Ship Blizzard. Um, I do have a little quote from the young man here. He was potentially going to make the pod, but unfortunately he couldn't make it tonight. So he left me with this, and he said I have to read it verbatim.
Oh boy.
The constipation has ended. Woe to those who stand in the path of my shitters. My next opponent will henceforth be known as Colombian Brown, for there's not enough bleach in the world to remove the fecal stains that the blizzard is about to generate. Also, Arby's sucks, and I'm coming for his processed meat, slinging ass. Oh, okay. The way that he quoted that was a little weird, but okay. A little preview, I guess, for next week. I didn't actually read that text until now, so
We'll start
um,
the previews with that matchup then.
perfect. Yeah, but good win for Rick. I mean, he's to your point again about these teams that were on the bottom. Like I always said every weekend that we do this, I loved Rick's team. I thought Rick had a pretty good team. He just couldn't find a way to win. And he's got the number one player in fantasy, so that can't hurt. Lamar Jackson, who just keeps doing it. Their offense with Derrick Henry just looks so much different. They're I don't know. They're just it's so easy for them. that's what every time I watch them play, I'm like, I can't believe they lost any games this year. Like the two games they lost, I mean, Kansas City, I guess, but first game of the year. But
Yeah.
yeah, they just look so good. So
Yep.
yeah, I mean, and then Kelsey. I mean, I'll just highlight, keep highlighting him. I said that last
Back.
week with yeah, with Anth. I mean, they had to get him involved, and a lot of the talk was kind of, hey, maybe they're just leading him to like stay healthy, and we'll start figuring him out towards the end of the year. Probably needed to, lean in on him a little bit more with the injuries, and yeah, he looks good, man. 14 catches. That's a healthy stat line, we'll say.
He had like 9 in the
But
first half.
it
It
was
was
ridiculous. He had like he
crazy.
had like 10 catches for like 60 yards. It was the most
Yeah.
ridiculous stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, good, good win. And then Darnell Mooney, man. Anthony noted this last week, and I kind of knew the name, but like,
Massive
dude,
pickup.
yeah, like this guy's such a good streamer. Like, a pretty high
Yeah.
powered offense, I guess, kind of built to necessarily be one, but I didn't think Darnell Mooney was going to be a name from that Atlanta offense that we'd be talking about here in Week 10. But yeah, he's a good streaming option. I'll say that for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, so good, good week from Rick, and yeah, I mean Tiburon, we kind of noted. I mean he's got the best running backs in the league. I mean, so I mean each week he's going to be a tough out. He's going to get to 100. I mean those guys are going to get 20 plus a week. I mean guaranteed. Even on a bad week, they're going to get close to 15.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, those guys put up close to 60 points for him, and made it interesting. Definitely made it interesting towards the end. I mean, he's kind of like what I said last week. The rest of his lineup's it's just tough. I mean, the Godwin injury and the Ayuk injury, his receivers just they kind of stink.
And now Dak's injury.
I'm just gonna say now he lost his quarterback too. So like,
Yep.
not that he was necessarily the Dak of old, in terms of his stat line, but now you got to play the streaming game. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, even with the two best, running backs, and if Mark Andrews doesn't get in the end zone, that's kind of what he's been doing this year. So I
Yeah.
mean, he had a good stretch for 4 games, but it's yeah, maybe just not enough to make up, to make that push into the playoffs. I would say he's sitting at seventh spot right now, but as we kind of noted, some of the teams behind him are kind of forming some pretty good lineups, just from top to bottom. So we'll see. I mean, he got 2 good weeks and he only got to 108. So or 2 good performances from his RBs, and that was it. So I don't
Yeah.
know. It's gonna be tough sledding, I think, for Ryan, barring a guy that maybe he streams and pops week in and week out, but you're never gonna know which guy to do that, or which guy to slide in. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yep. Yeah, I don't have too much to add on either side. I think you summed it up pretty well, but yeah, it's very I would say very thin. Um, Ryan's been hit pretty hard with injuries, at least for 2 really key players that he was gonna play week in and week out, and now 3 with Dak. But yeah, just kind of treading water a little bit. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens over the next couple weeks and what his team looks like. But yeah, I mean, huge win for Rick, and it's aw- I mean, watching Lamar and watching Baltimore's offense, like I don't know how you defend them because they're so multiple. They can go in so many different formations, and they have so many players in ways that they can win. Second year with Todd Monken, they're kind of
Yep.
starting to really get their groove. And like there was one they when they played Denver, they just like picked on this one linebacker. I was like seeing reviews of that, and with Lamar and Henry like running off play action, like it's Zay Flowers just has so much space, and now that you have Deontay Johnson kind of getting worked in, Rashad Bateman can be like sort of that deep threat. Like they can beat you on so many different levels of the field, and Lamar
Yeah.
he can always take it to the house on a run. So yeah, I mean I don't know how you defend them.
Yeah. I'm kind of just looking at the board here before we go into the Week 10 preview. You kind of preview, but yeah, no one on anything crazy besides that slide that we noted about the Bastards. 5 straight losses. I mean, that's moves them down to 11th. Yeah, just everything else. I mean, kind of jumbled up here. I would say from like 5 down. I mean, even well, we could say from 3 down, but to kind of the notes that we've had over the last couple of weeks. I mean, I do think I would say the top 6 is or have like really, really good lineups, I would say, from Andy's standpoint, even from all the injuries he suffered. Kind of noted that Tiburon was kind of reeling a little bit, and then I think you guys are on the come up. Even Finkel to an extent, depending on what CMC does. So it's going to get real interesting for those last couple spots in the playoffs, or last spot maybe. And then who potentially will wear the dress. I mean, Anthony's certainly getting fitted. We'll say we're not necessarily sure if he'll be wearing it, but let's go
I
into
ant-
the.
I anticipate he will not.
Okay, that's a good takeaway. I mean, he's getting healthy at the right time, but had to endure just a hellacious
Brutal
few,
season
like
so far.
7 or 8 weeks. Yeah, it's tough. Feel like something happened, something shitty happens to him like every week. So tough, tough. Let's
That
get into
means
this.
that
And
just means one thing, that he is due for positive regression. And I mean, hopefully it's not the same as my Terry McLaurin prediction where I said he would be, I don't know how you can start him, and then he reels off like 7 straight weeks of insane production. So but no, I don't think I think Anthony's roster where it stands now is too good to finish. Um and he's only like one loss. He's only one loss
one
out.
up.
So it's not like
Yep.
he's like, you know.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a good point. Since I kind of jumped the gun a little bit, I thought Rick was giving us a little banter about his previous week's performance, not necessarily talking shit about
No,
this week.
let's dive in.
Let's go into it. I mean, this is talking about teams that are only one win ahead of Finkel. These guys are playing each other, 3-6 teams. So kind of look at them. I mean, we kind of noted some players on both sides. I know Pitts has that injury. I was just kind of scrolling down a little bit here from Phil's side. He's been riding, Pitts pretty hard with kind of a whole changeup. It looks like from his side. I mean, I know he picked up Rogers, so it looks like he's sliding him in, um, taking Kirk Cousins out, taking Pitts out. So taking that little mini stack, if you want to call it. Um, maybe not putting too many eggs in one basket is maybe his feeling this week. I mean, Saints didn't look great. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I anticipate that might be a little bit of a TBD,
Mhm.
um, to not
It's
play
early.
Cousins in New Orleans. I think they're gonna flame the Saints.
Saints are just spiraling. I mean, obviously the Dennis Allen firing and trading your. I mean, I would
Yeah.
probably maybe the face of their. I mean, at least one of the faces of their defense, or their franchise. Really, I mean that
Yep.
Lattimore's been
Yeah.
there forever. So
Yeah.
um, certainly potentially tanking. We'll say for the year. I mean, they're decimated with injuries, obviously with Shaheed and now Olave. So not a
Yeah.
lot of weapons offensively besides Kamara. So
Yeah,
yeah, this will be interesting.
Kamara's the last one of that draft class. When they took that insane draft class that they had, they got Kamara. I forget who their first round pick. I know they took Ryan Ramczyk, who was a mainstay at right tackle for them for a while. But they got Ramczyk, I'm probably forgetting someone that they took before Ramczyk. They got Marcus Williams in that draft. They got Kamara, they got Marshawn Lattimore. Um, yeah,
Yep.
just ridiculous class. But yeah, it's crazy. Like New Orleans, they're gonna be taking. I feel like they might be taken down to the studs this
Yeah.
offseason. They need it,
I
man. They need a
I
whole reset. And I think, and like, what's the point? Like I think like with Atlanta, like, and that's why I think maybe Phil plays Kirk Cousins because he can levy the potential for them to just flame New Orleans in so many different ways. Like,
Yep.
so I
Yeah.
don't, unless something drastic, I don't foresee how Atlanta doesn't put up close to 30 in that game.
Yeah, I can see the quarterback switch. I mean, Pitts, I think, has a little bit of a hamstring issue. So, I mean, it's early in the week. So, potentially they might end up switching. I could see him switching it. I mean, Goddard's been out for a while. I mean, I know that AJ Brown news, maybe he's maybe banking on some targets, if AJ Brown sits for Philly. So, yeah, we'll see. I mean, I
Yep.
think the rest of the lineup's pretty set for him in that regard. And then on the flip side, I mean, I really like Rick's lineup this week. I'm just kind of looking at who he's playing. I mean, the only one that kind of stands out is DJ Moore a little bit. He hasn't necessarily been great, and I think that's going to be a low scoring game overall between them and New England.
Oh, what an ugly game.
Yeah, so I don't expect a lot of points in that game, and he's just no, there's no one from Chicago you can really rely on. I mean, unfortunately, in that offense, I mean, outside of Swift, really, in terms of
Right.
consistency.
Right.
But I like the Downs play. I mean, even though they're playing Buffalo, I mean,
Yeah, I
I think Flacco's getting the start again, right? So
think so.
um, he usually, he's been performing well at least when Flacco's been in the a few times this year. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one. I mean, Thursday night, you got to expect a big performance from Lamar. I mean, that's going to be a shootout. I mean, that Baltimore Cincy. I mean,
Yep. Yeah.
that should be fireworks. So I expect a 30 spot from Lamar for sure in that game,
Yeah.
at least. So
Yep.
I initially I like Rick. I mean, I think Rick's got some good matchups. You know, projections are obviously leaning that way pretty heavily to start out, and then like I said, kind of rolling down his team. I mean, you can't really trust Cooper anymore. And then like I said, that trade with Evans,
Hurt.
that's not going to come to fruition, until another 2 weeks.
Right. I yeah, I'm gonna pick Rick too. I'm gonna pick Rick too. If Phil plays Cousins, I think I'm gonna take Phil
Okay.
because he's got Mooney on the other side, so you can kind of like levy that play.
Yep.
I just gotta say, I already like the structure of this show because with these matchups, we can kind of get into like some game theory. You
Yeah.
know?
No, it's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
So I think
it's better to
no,
look ahead.
I like Kelsey in the Kansas City stack in that spot. I'm my hesitance with Phil's team, and I'm not huge in the Tony Pollard spot. Maybe he gets in the end zone if they
Yep.
score, but I mean, that's just a brutal spot
Yep.
in LA. And then, Waddle, how do you. But it could be like a big Waddle game. Like the one thing I like playing Josh Downs even after a down week, because you never want to be flip-flopping wide receivers. You know what I mean? They have a
Yep.
big week and then you play them and then they dud and then you sit them and they have a big week. Josh Downs he's been really good. And even in sort of a down week, he has 12. Like he's a
Yeah.
mainstay.
I didn't think he had double digits last week. I'm surprised.
Yeah. So
Um,
I'm gonna take Rick.
yeah, I like that play. And honestly, even with the swap with Cousins, I still think I like his matchups a little more.
Yeah.
Um,
Yep. And
good.
Lamar could come out and have like 40 and then, he's in a really good spot.
Yep. Yep. We'll go from bottom to the top, I guess, since we're starting down there with Rick's
Sure.
quote of the week here. Good year matchup. Yeah, another one that looks a little lopsided to start, based on projections, but you never
Yep.
take anything from them. Oof, you got a tough bye week. I forgot about. I know the Packers were on bye. I knew that.
Yep.
Um,
So weathering some
talking about a little preview of the two tight end stack that you were mentioning earlier.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, kind of out of necessity.
Hmm.
I was hoping that Xavier Worthy kind of showed something, but he actually, I if I hadn't played him, it would have been better off for my team. Uh, but
Right.
if I hadn't played anyone, it would have been better off for my team, I should say. But yeah, I mean, I don't really like my matchups that great this week. I mean, outside of the guys that we kind of expect to have sort of big weeks,
Yep.
I'm hoping Debo's back healthy. I think he should be. Um, I kind of
Yep.
expect him to play, barring something unforeseen. But yeah, I'm the bottom three players outside of the Jets D who I'm
Tough.
kind of like locked into playing them every week now. They can kind of
I,
get there with like a sack based floor.
hmm
But my worry with the Jets D where they can just come out and maybe get me like three is if they have such a hard time defending mobile quarterbacks and their rush lanes and their pass rush lanes are so undisciplined at times. Hopefully they turned a corner with that last week, but Stroud still rushed for I think like 50 yards last week.
Yeah, that was
So
about his only points. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, we'll see, but I mean, I'm gonna pick Steve in this matchup. I think his team is just too good. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
I think
I
his
agree with you.
baseline every week is like 110, and for me, at least the way it's been going, especially without Jacobs, uh, we'll see. I mean, I like Tyrone Tracy, but we'll see. I'm gonna pick Steve. I mean, I think his team's just way too good.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to pick him in this matchup, especially with you kind of being, kind of little hobbled with buys, I'll say, coming into it. So, Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with. I mean, there's really not much to say. I mean, the only matchup that I guess he has any question is that he's gonna just, to your point earlier. I mean, Cortland Sutton's. I mean, even Shakir. I mean, I think that's been an even swap. I mean, Sutton's looked really good the last 2 weeks since he got off of Finkel's roster, but
Yeah.
he could always kind of swap him and Marv if he's feeling lucky because unfortunately it seems like it's an every other week thing with Harrison, unfortunately, in the fantasy perspective. So, but yeah, I got Steve here. It's tough not to.
Yeah, and it's a shame for Steve that he can't just roll out one wide receiver because the way it kind of stacks up. I actually don't like his wide receiver matchups this week. Sutton's in sort of a brutal spot at Kansas City now.
Yeah,
Kind of see that's a 1 o'clock game, and I feel like maybe Bo Nix or Sutton can get there with
garbage
like
time.
or something. Or he gets like 6 for 50 for and a touchdown or something, gets like 14. But yeah, Pickens, I mean, who knows with Lattimore there now. And Mike Williams for Pittsburgh, that pickup. I don't know if Williams is gonna be active, but
Yeah,
would really love to get Kate Otten in there. But
yeah. I mean, it's an interesting play because I mean, I don't necessarily know if we have a trade deadline or when it is. That's an interest.
it, I just looked at it today. It's November 30th.
Okay,
So
I knew we always kick ours
I
back a
think,
little bit farther.
yeah,
So
I think it normally is every year the week of Thanksgiving, if I'm not
okay,
if I'm
okay,
not.
yeah. I remember we changed that a handful of years ago, and
Yeah.
which is for the better because I feel like trade deadlines usually come pretty quick in fantasy. So it was definitely well needed. But yeah, I mean, his depth, I don't really necessarily. I mean, I guess he could try to. That would be the place to kind of attack it. Would be trying to get another wide receiver that he can kind of lean on week in and week out.
Yeah.
Besides Pick and Sutton and Harrison. So Jade Reed's
Yeah, and
awesome though.
yeah, and with the Marv, um, I depending on how the Jets deploy their corners, Sauce Gardner's actually been brutal this year. If you look at like where he was the first 2 years, it's pretty insane to expect a corner to constantly be playing at an all-pro level every year. Like it's defense
Yep.
isn't really sticky, but Sauce he's actually been like sort of a liability this year. DJ Reed has actually been their much better outside corner. But like it's still a tough environment. You never really know with Marv though, because he was on Ramsey for the whole game against Miami and he had that massive game. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, I don't know how you feel good about playing Marv. So I would definitely be in on Sutton and Pickens, but we'll
hmm
see. I mean, he's got Gibbs and Kyron. Like,
Yeah.
we didn't
Yep.
even talk about, and we also didn't even talk about Josh Allen. So I
Yeah.
like
Kind of skim
I like
past that.
I like Steve here.
Yeah, I think so too. Unfortunately. Um, this is a really big, I think, matchup this week. Just based on where these guys are at with the 5-4 and four and
Mm,
five. I mean, fifth and
yep,
seventh.
that's a good
Um,
call. I get a two
got a
point
real,
or
yeah.
two
I mean,
match
this is a
advantage.
big
Yeah,
could
that's a
be could be a big swing. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Especially kind of coming down. We're coming down to the home stretch here of games before we get into postseason. So I'll kind of look at this one because I mean, I kind of highlighted last week. It didn't really matter in our matchup, but I was kind of hoping with the T Higgins not playing and Brian Thomas was supposed to not play. I mean, he only got 6 last week, so it didn't really affect our matchup too much. He won by
Yeah,
10, but
he didn't miss any time.
which is crazy. Yeah, they were saying 2-4 when
Yeah,
initially when he got hurt. So
yeah,
love that guy. He's a stud. I think you play him every week if he's playing Brian Thomas. I mean, he's a
yeah.
beast.
He's top ten receiver this year.
Yeah, he's been awesome. So in what is this? Gorendo's in his lineup? What's going on here? Oh, Walker's on bye. Damn, he's got like nobody to play in his RB2 spot.
Oh
Arby's, what are you
man,
doing?
you got to be double stacking those Bengals running backs.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
I
definitely going
don't
to
know.
probably be, and well, I think so. I mean, can't play if CMC comes back. This guy's not even going to see the field.
Yeah, for
Especially if
real. And
Mason's.
Is Jordan Mason hurt or is he playing?
I'm not sure. I don't. And again, I don't know. Game script wise, like how much. I feel like they're going to if CMC sat this whole year, like why wouldn't you give them a full compliment? They got to try to win that division. So, um, yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting play. I guess
Just
that's
praying for
tough.
you're praying for like a catch for like 20 yards.
Yeah. I mean,
'Cause-
hey, I had to
Or I
play.
mean, and if you get a touchdown, like, that's a stroke of luck. But yeah.
Yeah, I've been there earlier in the year. I had to play Sean
Yeah.
Tucker one week,
Yeah, I'm
and
playing Braylon Allen this week and praying for a
now
touch.
there you go. Yeah. Well, I
Oh,
mean, he's done in the past, but yeah, tough to rely on. But I mean, on Tiburon's side, though, I mean, he's got Jordan Jennings slotted in there right now. Jordan Addison, who he did hit last week with, and then he gets Jameson Williams back, I guess, from that 2 game suspension, which kind of a roll of dice player too. Daniel Jones,
is
damn,
this is this Jameson's first game back, or was he playing last week?
nah, first game back. Yeah, I
First
think he
game
was
back.
suspended
Okay.
last game.
Okay.
Yeah, he was suspended last game. That was against the Pack.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
and he has to stream Daniel Jones this week too. Ooh,
I
good.
actually like the Jameson Williams play. I feel like he off a suspension. I feel like they may want to get him going, and Houston's been susceptible to um at least deep passes this year.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
so
Man, it's kind of shaky lineups from both. I mean, like holes, I should say, in both lineups. I mean, I like Arby's overall. I mean, really, the only thing that's staring is that RB2 spot this week. I mean, everything else looks really good. I mean, he's got Cooper Cup Monday night rolling. He's got St. Brown in that
okay,
same
hold
matchup.
on. We have breaking news.
Go ahead.
Arby's just added Audric Estime from Denver and
As we
dropped
were
Isaac
talking,
Guerrero.
dude, that's actually. I mean, you
Breaking
couldn't.
news into the show. I got the notification on my phone.
I gotta look at it. Yeah, I guess I just saw it
That's
too.
awesome.
That's
So scrap
very
that. Okay. I'm
very
gonna pick
fitting.
I'm gonna pick Arby's.
Arby's. I'm gonna go with Arby's too.
That's hilarious.
I just think
Can you refresh the matchup and see if Estime's in?
doing it right now. There he is.
There he is. All right.
2.45.
Yep.
Peyton
That's
said he's
gonna
gonna get some more work. That's what he
that's gonna
started
win him the
reading
week.
that. I got Arby's too. I think that's
Yeah.
his only hole this week is just that spot. Even whoever he plays, I mean, the rest of his lineup looks really good. And I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, Daniel Jones. Even though I think that's a Germany game, right? This year or
Yep.
this week.
Yep.
Okay. Um, yeah, I mean, and then Juwan Jennings. He hasn't been healthy in a while, so I mean, yeah, a couple tough spots for streaming, I should say, from Ryan. So yeah, I like Arby's.
Yeah.
Big
Same.
would be a big win for him too.
Yeah, and with the whole thing it is hilarious with Estime, but honestly, if your RB2 is just like a throw in prayer, where you're just hoping for some touches, like St. Brown could have 2 touchdowns and then like he
Hmm.
gets you like 26 and your RB2 point total is like sort of irrelevant.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and honestly, I mean, you do. I should say, like when I had to do, I streamed, the third back from Tampa Bay one week.
Oh, Sean
Um,
Tucker.
yeah, like I had to play Tucker one week just because that
Yeah.
was like the only guy that was out there to play, and he just came off like a 34 point week.
Yeah.
But like you kind of like this matchup, I would feel comfortable streaming anyone, like you just said, because like my rest of my lineup feels pretty good, and like flip side, Tiburon has some holes, so yeah, we'll
Yeah.
see. See what
Yep.
happens.
We're in lockstep with picking
Yeah.
Arby's.
Oh man, look at this projection.
Dude, it's
Our,
insane.
and he has 123 projected. This is insane.
Wild.
Andy, this is the year of drag.
And not
Yeah, just
even, and it's not even with like normally with a high total, you'll see it's normally with like a quarterback who's projected to get like 24 or
yep.
25. Um, yeah, man.
So Nils has to play kind of Keenan Allen, right? I mean, I like because Metcalf. Oh yeah, they're on bye this week. Yeah, so
Yeah, they're on bye. Yeah, he pretty much has to play Keenan. Uh,
this is a tough week
Keenan,
for
yeah, or Pearsall, but who knows? He's like their
yeah.
wide receiver three
Still,
now.
yeah. This is
I'm gonna
a.
I'm gonna take Andy this week.
I mean, how can you not look at the lineup that he has? I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
Jaden Daniels, even with a tough Pittsburgh defense, that offense is flying. He'll probably still get that 20 point that he's projection.
yeah.
AJ Brown, that'll be the only hole, I guess, if he plays. I mean, we kind of touched on that. Yeah, kind of like going back a couple weeks to your guys, trade a little bit. That was the only thing that like Anthony and I were kind of criticizing a little bit, like you said in that group chat. Was just like the Evan Ingram piece. I like Jake Ferguson a lot, but like he could have got another piece beside, in addition to that. I
Should have
think
just
maybe
kept
from you.
Ertz.
Yeah, I mean, true. Yeah, I mean, for sure. But I mean, he also could, like, yeah, have some depth. I mean, you drop those two, you drop those two guys immediately, and like, hindsight, obviously. I mean, AJ Brown gets hurt, which is a tough spot, but I just think like, Evan Ingram. I mean, you have him. I mean, and Joe Burrow, like
Evan
those are. I
Ingram
mean,
was Ingram was like I'll say for me like when we were working that trade out like Ingram was like a big part of that deal for
he
me.
should be. He's a good
Yeah,
player.
'cause he
Yeah,
was I was like, I'm taking a hit with giving up, Brown as arguably like a top probably like 6, 7 wide receiver in fantasy. I when I made the trade, this was before Debo got hurt. I valued Debo as like a top 10 receiver.
yeah. I
Um
mean, I
so
think I think he
but
is. I mean, he just is.
Ingram was a huge part of that deal.
Yeah, I mean, so you mean
Me.
you lose it? Let's say you lose a little bit from the Debo standpoint if you're going from AJ to him,
Yeah.
but with your lineup, hopefully, obviously, you have Neighbors and Nico coming back. But I mean,
Yep.
you got your quarterback and your tight end that you're playing every week. I don't think there's really any discussion about it. So
Yeah.
that's the only knock I'll give on that trade piece. And then, I mean, the rest of his lineup looks great. I mean,
Yep.
Philly gets to go at Dallas with Rush throwing it. So
Man.
yeah,
Yeah.
Beeve might be on his first two game losing streak this
Yep.
year. I think we're a lock right now in all of
Are
our
we
picks.
are we four straight locks?
Yeah, I mean tough not to. I mean the only one that was like a questionable one was the Arby's just in terms of like the projections, but
Yeah.
kind of dissecting that lineup it was kind of easy. Oof, this is a huge matchup. I don't know Anthony was playing the Bastards this week.
Wow.
This is I mean
This can put the bastards in the basement.
potentially, I think with points, I don't think Anthony will
Oh,
catch him
okay.
regardless. But I mean, record wise, for sure.
Oh,
Um,
he'd have to like basically like double him up.
yeah, I mean, I was gonna say because I think
Oh,
Gant's
never,
at
yeah, never mind.
least 75 to 100 down. But I mean, no, you're not wrong. I mean, this would.
Yeah.
I mean, if he can't do it this week, the Bastards, this will be six straight losses, and
Oh man.
I mean, seriously reeling. Let's
Yeah.
take a look at these. And still not going with. I mean, you got to get. I mean, Shakir has been really, really solid. I'll say that, but you got to put Hopkins in. I think I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong with that, but
Yeah.
I mean, you got Mahomes. Why wouldn't you? He just came off with two touchdowns. I mean,
Yes. You're stacking.
you have to. I mean, you get you
He
get
had
12
two
every time.
touchdowns last week. You're definitely stacking Mahomes
Mhm.
and Hopkins at home in a 1 o'clock game. Come on.
Yeah, against Denver. I mean, Denver, I would say defensively isn't awful. I mean, I guess they just gave up 40 to Baltimore, so I guess maybe that was a little preemptive for me to say that they're not awful, but yeah, I think there's no reason that you got to play DeAndre there and
Yeah.
and just take out Shakir, and that's
And
probably the only move that.
yeah, no, you can finish your point. What were you saying?
No, I was gonna say that's like looking at his lineup. I mean, that's really the only knock I can say on the Ants side. I mean that projection and doesn't really change much, but I mean Shakir has been good. I will give him that. When he traded Cortland Sutton, I'm like Shakir Ant, like he's kind of like the. And he made the point last week on the pod, and I was like, all right, good take. I mean, I kind of like looked at a stat line. I'm like, he kind of is like a little bit of a slot PPR guy, like for Buffalo, but like he's not going to score. So I just don't see that on that offense that he's going to get in the end zone.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean,
Go ahead.
if you're going for a floor play with Shakir, like I sort of get it. But I mean, I just straight up like
Got Mahomes.
Hopkins is like an every week wide receiver too. Like
Yeah, I
he should
agree.
start every week. And Buffalo might be up like sort of early, so they may just be like running the ball a lot. And I mean, do you think like would you play Chuba over Stevenson? I think I would.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, it's kind of a toss up, but like I
I
know
think he's.
Stevenson's he's been so involved,
Yeah,
but
I mean
it's
they're
a
at
brutal matchup.
Chicago in a really tough matchup. I would put Chuba in there as well because
Yeah.
I think they probably the talk is that they activated Brooks, but I mean still I don't think he's going to get any run. He might not even
Yeah.
play.
I would anticipate he doesn't play. I don't
Mm.
think they want his first game to be in fucking Germany off just being active. You know what I mean?
On an AC,
And
off
then
an
they go on
ACL
a
injury.
bye, and then they go on a bye after that. So
Oh yeah,
it
yeah,
wouldn't
he's
make
not.
like
I didn't
any
even.
sense for him to play.
Yeah, he's not playing. So yeah, I would say those are the two swaps that I would suggest. But hey, who am I?
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, yeah.
McCaffrey, I mean, maybe again, a lot riding on if McCaffrey
Hell
plays.
yeah!
Um,
Finally,
and what I mean, he's already projecting a 20 spot. That's pretty
gonna
crazy.
be, dude. I'm so pumped. Like not just for Anth, but I'm just like pumped to have
He's
McCaffrey back.
really, really fun to watch. Yeah, I mean, you're seeing what Derrick Henry's doing, like obviously different play style, but yeah, you see those guys, and you're like, I sent the text out when I was just watching, Derrick Henry that game on Sunday. I'm like, guy's unstoppable. Like, and you watch, you remember that same feeling watching McCaffrey the last couple years, and just like the guy scored every game. So I'm sure Ant's excited for
So
it.
fun. It's been a really cool development in fantasy this year where like star running backs are
They're
like
back.
really back and like the running games have been so sick. You get the workhorses with like I mean I can consider Henry a workhorse. You get Henry, you get freaking Saquon who just looks insane. You get freaking Mixon and James Conner, and then you get like the dudes who are so efficient in split time, like with Achan and Gibbs and freaking yeah, dude. It's been a really fun year for running backs.
I
So
agree.
I'm pumped that McCaffrey's back and we can like see him like actually in that offense again. It's gonna be
This
fucking sick.
isn't this isn't like an awful lineup from Logue's standpoint, like kind of running down. Like I think this is probably better than it has been in like the last couple of weeks, I'll say, in terms of just like balance. But I mean, he's still got to. I mean, some of these projections, like 16 for Tyreek, like he's got to kind of get in the end zone. Like if you're going to get 16 from Tyreek on Monday night, but I mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
That's possible. And then the Nico Collins thing. I mean, we haven't gotten to your matchup, I guess, yet. But I'm sorry, we started. Oh no, we didn't get to your matchup yet, did
Didn't
we?
get to my matchup yet.
Oh no, we took Riggs. I'm sorry, right? Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Oh,
um,
we didn't even hit on Nico.
that's what I was gonna say. Yeah,
If Nico's active, I'm playing him.
yeah. Okay, so that's yeah. We kind of skimmed over that. So I don't think he practiced today, right?
Um,
Or did he? I
I mean,
can't.
they activated his window. I think he might have been limited today. I
Okay,
think it's still fully that he's like up in the air, but
yeah. So that'll take a little. I mean, not much of a tick down, like you said. I mean, with Diggs being out, I mean, Tank Dell looks like he's kind of hit his stride a little bit, and then he has that stack. So,
yeah, he's a
um,
weekly must start at this point.
yep, I think so too. And then he's got be a really crazy game. He's got Mostert too. I kind of looking down here. I mean, he's got Chubb's on bye. Bowers is on bye. I like the Gasecki play. I
Me
mean,
too.
definitely, yeah. With Higgins coming, not playing, he's been lights out. Which is kind of a random name to be throwing out in fantasy, but I do like that stream, and Quentin Johnson's been good too.
Yeah,
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 coming back last week. I mean, he had a
yeah.
huge game, so I like that stream as
Interesting.
well.
Yeah, interesting note on Mike Gesicki. So this is a story. So I was maybe like when Gesicki was in his final year at Penn State, I went to a Penn State game with my father-in-law, and it was the Penn State Iowa game. And one will say the stadium was absolutely insane. It was most one of the craziest sports experiences I had. But Gesicki had like a stick touchdown grab, and I was like, who's 88? Like this dude is a baller. And then throughout the whole draft process, he was like, the most athletic tight end ever. Um, and so I just like always loved him as a prospect. And it's like awesome to see him like finally just being like, oh no, you're a really big slot receiver and you're just gonna run fast downfield and catch passes because he can't turn or cut worth the shit, but
No,
he's fast and he's huge. So
yeah, no, he's
I just
been.
thought it was cool to see him like finally realize after being like this guy is like a baller when I saw him in college play.
I mean, I don't anticipate him getting two touchdowns, but like to your point with the red zone, like he's definitely looked. They definitely look for him in the red zone for sure. I
Good
mean, and
player.
Burrow's checking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, great player. He got 14 targets in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
He's a
Um,
good. It's cool that he's finally finding his role. Like when you get these athletic tight ends and they finally lean into them just being like a big slot receiver, like they do with Evan Ingram. Like it's cool.
yeah, yeah. This is going to be I think a lot tighter than what the projections have it at, and there's still a lot to be
Agreed.
kind of a lot to really kind of trickle down for both managers, meaning like, who plays for what team and whatnot. And McCaffrey's obviously a huge question mark, even though it seems like he's playing. I'm gonna go Fink. I'm gonna go with Anth. I think Anth's got his full lineup, and he's got some heavy hitters. I mean, outside of the two things that we said, I mean, I think he'll probably throw Hopkins in, knowing Anth, but Chuba and Stevenson. I mean, hey, you're splitting hairs there, but yeah, I like Anth by like a nose. It's gonna be a tight one, I think.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be tight too. This is where we're gonna split. I'm gonna take the Bastards.
I like it.
I think I think it could be a sort of get right game for CJ Stroud. I think he can throw like 2, 3 touchdowns. Now Detroit's defense has been playing pretty really well.
Hmm.
Um, but I think Stroud at home, he should be able to get there, but we'll see. It just depends on how their O line holds up because
Yeah,
Detroit's got Zadarius Smith and he opposite Aiden Hutchinson. He's definitely going to be active.
yeah,
Um,
yep.
so but yeah,
Yeah, interesting.
I'm gonna take Logue. I think his floor is a lot higher than I'm kind of anticipating. I think Kamara can just like get 20 plus just on volume.
Easily.
And
Yep.
then, we'll see with Quentin Johnson and Gesicki. I think there's a good chance that one of them scores. So um yeah, I'm gonna take the Bastards.
Yeah, a lot of sitting and waiting for Ant because he's got most of his players playing throughout Sunday, I'll say, and then opposite Logan has like four guys going
Mm.
Sunday, or three guys Sunday night and Monday night. So that'll be interesting. This one's going to be a barn burner again in terms of the projections. I mean, it's a nail biter from what we got, and lineups are kind of lineups for me at least. As we said earlier in the pod, but let's see, go down here. Yeah, it kind of looks like it is for he can't stream Judy this week. He's on bye. So kind of just looking at what Aaron has to kind of throw out there. Chase, I think, is going to have a hell of a game. Just kind of looking at his lineup here. He's got to play Deontay. I mean, that'll be an interesting, kind of an interesting play to see what we get out of him for week two. I don't think he had any targets, but I don't think he certainly didn't play all the snaps that he is
Yeah,
normally.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It
I, my lineup's my lineup. I mean, it is what it is for this. I'm just kind of looking at who I'm playing.
yeah.
My quarterback's the only thing. I do have the potential to play Baker. Um, Now, I mean, Stafford at home against Miami or
Oh,
Baker playing,
you're playing Baker.
probably. Yeah, probably. But I
Yeah,
have
or
I
I
have the
mean, I don't want to talk for you, but I
yeah.
would
I mean, that was that's the only decision that I picked up Stafford kind of right before the 4 o'clocks last week, and I was like, I'll just I'm gonna just go with. I mean, Baker's the number two fantasy player. I mean, in terms
don't.
of a points basis. So
Yeah, the way I said that, the more I'm thinking about it now, I don't think it's as drastic as a gap as I may have made it with my tone. I think Stafford's still a good play. Um,
yeah.
I think I would just, man, I think though, even though San Francisco, like they don't seem like that opposing that tough of a matchup in terms of like where they are against fantasy quarterbacks, I feel like, doesn't this feel like a spot where San Fran can just come out and like flame Tampa?
Well,
Like
that's like my worry is that
where
like
it's
with
kind of like
CMC they have so much momentum. Like they're coming
yeah,
off,
yeah,
like their team's like basically over for the most part healthy. San Fran, like at least the guys that they have left, and they're coming out to go at Tampa. Like they need to win. Like San Fran is like that division's tight. Like it's a big win. It's a big matchup for them in the next couple of weeks. And like CMC coming back. Like I don't know. I mean, the only good thing is like if they do flame him, like unless they pull Baker, like he's like the garbage. Like the last couple weeks, he's been like the garbage time like king. So
yeah,
it's tough. I mean, I think it's just splitting
yeah.
hairs though in terms of like my
Yep.
my weekly like point total. Yeah, this is tough. Like I would love to say me here just because selfishly it's my team, but Aaron's got a good team. I don't love his flex. I mean, but I love the rest of his lineup. I mean, the rest of his lineup's really, really good.
Mhm.
Um,
And they're in
uh,
and they're in really good spots. Like Chase
yep,
in Baltimore, I think Garrett in Arizona is in a really good spot. Even Connor on the other side of that. Like
yep.
I think Connor should be.
Mixon.
Yep. Yeah. I hmm,
Yeah, this is tough. I'm even with
I'm
my
gonna
own.
take you.
Yeah,
I
I'm like,
I think you get
I'm.
a win here because
I need a win.
go ahead. Yeah, do you want to say your pick or
I'm gonna
you
take. I'm gonna side with me just because it's my team, and I think
sure.
overall, like Drake London practice
Give your
like
boy
was
some
limited.
confidence.
Yeah, but Drake London was, yeah, exactly. Drake London was limited today, so I think it seems like he'll play. If he doesn't play,
Yeah.
then it's an uphill battle for me because I gotta figure out who the hell I'm gonna slide in there.
Who
Just to
would
look
you
at
who would you slide in if you league it
not many.
probably?
Yeah, yeah, probably the Carolina receiver. He's been really solid.
League it.
Yeah,
Did you
I
did you
think.
did you
You
see
hear him
that?
say asparagus?
I was just gonna say, did you hear him say asparagus? Asparagus.
Asparagus.
Hilarious. The
Yeah,
best
yeah. He
accent in the NFL. So good.
it's so Carolina. It's
It's so
just
good.
it's yeah. He's great. I've said it multiple times. I think like that
Yeah.
is a guy that needs to be on Andy's team. I mean, Andy, send me an offer. I will. I'm not going to keep him next year. I love the guy. So if you want him just to stay, you have him.
It's hilarious.
And just for
I
clip
will
purposes.
be I will foreshadowing, I will be higher than consensus on Xavier Leggett for 2025.
Oh, he's gonna be really good. Yeah, I
Assuming they
like
don't
him.
sign like T. Higgins. But
Yeah, I mean, there's always that for sure. But the way that they've been kind of cleaning house, they definitely like their young receivers that they have at
yeah.
least. But I mean, just the guys I have on my teams, like how do I not keep Justin Jefferson or like James Cook or like just guys that or Drake London? I mean, yeah, I mean, so
Oh, as a keeper
we're
option. I was
yeah.
I
But I'm saying
I mean
you're right about shares. Yeah, like I'm just like
yeah, yeah.
I honestly I love him coming out of the draft. I didn't think he was going to
Me
be
too.
as consistent as
Yeah,
he's
me too.
kind of been for that team. That team's kind of dog shit, but they're trusting their young guys. That's what they should do. So yeah, I'll give a slight edge to me, hoping that Drake London plays. But
Those
um,
dude, these outside like Deontay Johnson aside, these five receiver matchups are going to be nuts. Like
yeah,
London in New Orleans, Jefferson in Jacksonville, Flowers home against Cincy, Chase on the other side, and then Garrett Wilson in Arizona. Like there's gonna be a lot of points between those receivers.
yeah, the receivers look juicy. I mean, his running backs definitely have like the slight edge. James Cook's kind of like hit a little like that. Ray Davis is kind of effing me last week a little bit. Like just
Solid spot for James Cook too. Low key.
definitely. Yeah, I mean, I just need him to get back in the end zone because, like I said, he had a couple runs in that game that he just couldn't get in. Down like the 4 or 5 yard line, and then yeah, Ray Davis is awesome too. It's like I mean, I love James Cook, but it's like yeah, I see Ray Davis just pop for that long touchdown. I'm like, damn, it would have been. It'd be nice to get the excuse to just play one of them now because I mean Ray Davis is still going to get some work as a
Yeah.
backup. But
I I'm gonna make a prediction. I think Cook and Kincaid both score this week.
God, I'd love for Kincaid to get in. I mean, at name
Yeah.
value alone, I picked him, but
Yeah.
he's been fine. He hasn't been terrible, but I thought I expected a little bit more based off of
Low
their
end one. Yeah.
yeah, like I thought their receiver room was like pretty empty, obviously. So I thought maybe he would get more touches, but yeah, all in all, he's been fine though. I mean, I
That's
can't be
steady.
too upset with them, and they have a bye I think in week 12, so we'll see. Hopefully, Pacheco comes back by then because I'm pretty thin, but um. I don't know if we have to like run. Like, maybe we'll just keep this up.
Was that the
We kind
last
of already
matchup?
that was the last matchup. So yeah,
Okay.
so we split two. I took Anth and you took Logue. Oh no, that was the only split. Never mind. So that was the only one
Did
that
we
we
take
disagreed on.
did we take
We
we
took
took
Ship
Rick over
Blizzard.
Phil?
Yep. We took
Oh,
Ship Blizzard.
change if Phil plays Kirk Cousins, change
Cousins.
that for me.
Okay. I'll mark that Cousins. And then everything else was pretty much chalk besides the Finkel Bastard matchup. I went 4-2 last week, not terrible. Kind of been consistent with the 4-2s, for the most part. I am 28-14 for the year, not too bad. Can't hate that. For just the overall weekly predictions, so not a bad
Hmm.
record. Didn't highlight any games last week, we our betting thoughts have been just putrid on
Yeah.
this pod. So
Yeah.
maybe we need to bring like Arby's or somebody in who actually gambles a
Yeah,
lot.
who like actually does it. Yeah. Do you want to we got like a couple minutes left. Do you want to run down
Rankings.
power rankings?
Yeah, yeah. So I just left. I kind of left just the screen here. Just kind of seeing where everyone's at in terms of the table.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I'll start. I'll start from 12. We wanted to go from there and
You
go
want
back
to
and forth.
let's do a consensus power rankings between us and we can
Yeah. Okay.
discuss.
I mean, Ant's got to be 12. I mean, unfortunately, I mean,
Yeah.
he's the only 2-7 team. I would say after this week there could be a shuffle there, since he's playing the Bastards. But I do think that, I mean, hey, he's got the worst record and the lowest amount of points. Kind of hard to argue that. So,
Yeah.
um,
I think 12 and 11 are what the
set.
standings are showing.
Yep, yep. I would agree. I would say Fink. Then our esteemed Kamish, who's just snowballing down the hill, is down to 11. This kind of gets interesting because like I like the next three three and six teams. Kind of hard to argue one way or the other
Tasty.
how I would like shuffle these guys, but um,
I think
I think
I
I
think
would.
it's I no,
Yeah.
go ahead. No, I just cut you off. Go for it.
No, I was gonna say I think I would have put Colombian White at 10. That's not just more of like because it's he's been inconsistent with his point totals. I mean, just in terms of like the pops, but I like his running backs, like I mentioned.
Mhm.
And I like, I don't know, it's tough. Him and Chip Blizzard, I would say. I got you slightly ahead of these guys.
Okay.
It's a toss up though. I mean, like I said, there's holes on all three of these guys' teams. On all three of your teams, I should say. Um, but it's tight. I mean, I don't know. All your point totals are really tight too. 10-03,
Yeah.
10-13, and 10-27.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep myself at 10.
Cool. Actually,
Uh,
all right, you're gonna keep yourself at 10?
yeah, I'm gonna keep myself at 10. I'm actually gonna keep it the way it is. I think
Okay. I like
point
that.
totals kind of line up, but I think all of our teams are very similar where like our projections aren't gonna make that much, they're not gonna be that high on a weekly basis, but like if we score 120 plus, you're like, oh, okay. Like I get it. Like some
Yeah.
of your guys, like, oh, you know what I mean? Like we
I'll
all
give
have like players who could like go off.
yeah, I mean, I guess on record purposes I shouldn't slide him down, but I do think, just the injury bug is killing him. Like I'm tempted to slide Tiburon underneath you guys, but we'll see. We'll give him another week because his RBs are just so stacked that it's like hard. And like Andrews is definitely a good tight end, has been pretty solid, but
No,
um
I'm good. Let's move to we're doing power ranking rosters. Like he's got those two backs are just like really carrying his team. Let's move him to 10.
yeah, I think I mean, respectfully, like just top to bottom roster wise, that's kind of
That
where I would do it.
and that
And then
sucks. That sucks for having the top like having the
yeah,
top two backs is I think they're top two, right?
oh, easily. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, well, I mean, we can just click on this real quick and I mean, this is standard. I'll move it to PPR. Not that it really matters for those guys, but oh
All
yeah,
right,
Kamara's
top
in the
three.
hunt too.
Let's do the top
Yeah,
three. Yeah.
yeah. So, but yeah, I would say Tiburon right above the Bastards, and then I say I agree with you. I think go you, Ship Lizard, Colombian White. I mean, those are all a shuffle, but I like keeping it that way. I'm
I'd
I'm
put
comfortable there.
I kind of feel like that's like one tier. Like there's the
Yep,
bottom two teams in 12 and 11 and then there's like a tier of like four.
yep. I would agree. Yep,
Yeah.
I think that's a good take. And then I'm gonna go Arby's at 6. I would move Arby's down to
Sure.
6 because I think A's got a really good lineup.
Yeah, me too.
So I would throw him. I don't know if I would throw him over me. I mean, that's tough. I would say I would put him right underneath me for now. I would say the Plantation,
I'm good with that.
then Green Bull, then I got the Beeve at 3. I think Riggs and the Goose have better teams than Beeve. It's tight. It's tight. Splitting hairs here a little bit, but
I
um,
I have the top two tier. I actually have did you have Andy at three?
I had Andy at 4. I had him right, or I'm sorry, I had Andy right after Arby's. So I'm at 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have so I'll
Did
have
I? Let me see. One, two, three, four, five.
I want to look at his team real quick. Let me just look at Arby's team real quick. I'm gonna put Beeve down at 6.
Damn. All right. I don't mind that takeaway to be honest with you.
And the reason being is his point total,
Yep.
and the fact that he's had like I view his record 7-2. I view him more as like a 5-4 team though.
Hmm.
Because one of those wins was against me. It was by 0.14, and I think he had
That's true.
another win that was by like a less than a couple points. So I think his record could be like 5-4 in that range.
I like
But
that. I like the take.
so we can compromise. Like if you have him at what do you have him at
No,
4? You put him at
I,
5.
yeah, I had him at 4, but I like your takeaway, so I would agree with that. And then, because honestly, I think I like Andy's team a little bit better than Beeve right now, just in terms of where it's
Same.
trending. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
same.
like that takeaway. So who would you have at 5? Arby's.
Arby's. Yeah.
Yep. So I got Arby's there at 5. 4. It's between me and at this point it would be between me and wait, is that right? 4? Yeah,
You and Andy.
between me and Andy. Yeah. So I don't know. We're splitting hairs there again. I mean, our point totals are basically identical in terms of what we've been putting up. I mean, my team is what it is. I think he's got a little bit more firepower overall, just in terms of
Yeah.
roster. I mean, his RBs are definitely better than mine. I mean, I got Swift. I mean, Swift's been consistent, but he doesn't scream Brees Hall and Achan, that's for sure. So I would go forward. I'll go forward with me. I think that's respectful.
And then Andy at 3.
Andy at 3. Yeah. And
I
then
think Andy at 3 because like I think your three
I'm fine with
receivers
that. Yeah.
your three receivers are, I mean, you got Jefferson, and
They're carrying it.
I think London's another top 10, top 12 receiver every week, and I think Zay Flowers is in that like top 15 range. So like, um,
And I like Jaden Daniel. I mean, I
yeah,
probably one of the
that's what
biggest.
does it for me.
Yeah,
Is
I'm one of the biggest
is
Jordan Love fans. Don't get me wrong, but he's been really inconsistent. We'll see when he comes out of the bye. Hopefully they,
yeah, I think
say
he'll
take
start
a
to get
sack.
back. Yeah, he'll start to get back to a couple weeks ago.
But yeah, so I think that's respectful. And then I think I'm gonna go. I hate to rank him one, but I want to go. I would think the Goose at 2 and
Yep.
Briggs at 1. Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I have too.
yep, yep. I think I'm glad we
It's
talked it out because
tight. Like
honestly,
that would be a tier for me.
I mean
Um,
they're kind of a runaway here for like one of those two are winning most points. I
do
mean,
we do you want to tier these teams?
sure, let's take it away. I mean, I think you nailed it. I mean, the
I
Goose
have a
and the
top
Rigs.
I have a top 2,
Yep,
then I have a next 3,
yep.
and then I have a big chunk of 5, which is insane
You're
because
throwing down Beeve with your 4.
I
Yeah,
am,
yep.
because even with a
Respect it.
5-4, even with a 5-4 and like I'm not trying to like take away from Nils. I think Nils still has a solid team.
Definitely.
Not trying to take that away, but I think with if I'm thinking about his team as like a 6-3 sort of 5-4 team,
Yep.
um, I think he's kind of in that big chunk with. And I think over the next like couple weeks, like maybe maybe he gets like he goes on like a little bit of like a slide where he
Hmm.
loses like 2 3 straight. Then he I think it could be like 7-5, and I think all those teams like Tib, Phil, Rick, and me, like I think any
Sure.
one of those teams can go on like a 2 week run. You know what I mean? And then their
Yeah. No,
records.
I think you're spot on with that, and I do think um, some good fortune obviously fell to Nils' way to get 7 straight. I mean, that's a hell of a run unless you like
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
powerhouse team. But
I don't think it was all luck. Like
no,
he's definitely been like he's been so consistent with his output, but
yeah, no,
I think
absolutely.
yeah,
But I think that's a good takeaway. I do think, and that that it all plays into the end of the day. Like you got to get wins. So I mean, hey, the name of the game is winning. So
yep,
the fact that he's 7-2 and sitting in tied for first essentially, it'll be that plays in his factor. Like you said, if he does go in a little bit of a slide or there's a little bit of chink in his armor a little bit in terms of the fact that Jordan Mason's not necessarily going to be relied on, and we kind of kind of drum in the same beat that we've been going over them in the pod. But yeah, I like that. I think that's a good. And then I think I think it's the Bastards and Finkel kind of battling it down there in the bottom right now. trending wise, you would say Anthony has a little bit more. He's got CMC coming back. I mean, you would think that that alone would put him up, kind of a little bit above the Bastards, but he's a game behind. So we'll see. This is a huge matchup this week. I didn't realize he was
Yeah,
playing.
this is a really huge week. Because then you get to teams that are 4-5 and 5-4, like especially like I'm just saying, like if Ryan
Yeah,
doesn't pick up a win this week and like Andy and Ben both do, then that's like a 2 week
sure.
separation for like the top six and the bottom six. So
Yeah,
it's
yep,
interesting. Even if teams 8, 9, and 10 like get wins. I know Rick's playing Phil, but
yep, yep. That's true.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's that's a good no, it's a good takeaway. I mean, honestly, I think um it's a lot more jumbled than Anthony and I were kind of joking. Or I think I
always
made
happens, man.
yeah, I made a jab though. Like I really truthfully do like. I mean, yeah, you can knock something on everyone's team probably realistically, but overall, like this year's like got a lot of parity. Like I feel like there's no
Yeah,
really like yeah, I mean Riggs, Goose, I mean they definitely have the best rosters and the most points, but other than that, like I don't want to say that either one of them are like that head and shoulders above. Like that's the team to beat. Like there's a lot of good rosters this year. I mean, everyone did pretty well drafting. I feel like. I mean, looking at the
yeah,
starting lineups for everybody and doing these, you know, kind of rundowns every week, I'm like, yeah, like I don't. There's no team that I'm like kicking them. You know what I mean? Like Ant just had a bad run with injuries, but and so is I guess so is Tiburon and to the Bastards to an extent, but
yeah.
outside of that, like nobody had a shit team. So yeah, we'll
Right.
see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I think that's a good tier and a good first power rankings. We haven't
That's
done one in 10 weeks, so
sick. Yeah, I think we nailed it with
yeah, me too.
this. But I mean, we got 6 more weeks left. And so I mean, so many things can change. Like even with like 6 more weeks. I mean, the final rosters or the final records, I should say, they're what, 8-7, 8-6 is, or I'm just
Yeah,
saying,
14.
like what
Yeah,
what's a sample, roster? So like it can go like
yeah.
and teams can come out of nowhere too. Like I think
Mhm.
like a team that's like 3-6 or even like a 4-5 team, even if like Ryan gets hot or something like that, like teams can go on like massive win streaks into the playoffs, and then you're
You're
looking at a 3-6 team totally different. Like they can go like win like four out of whatever, and then they're 7-7. They're like, oh, but they're putting up a lot of points, you know?
yeah, no, I mean, I think that was we just kind of talked on Nils's team, like winning seven straight. I mean, he's got only the second most points
Yep.
in the league, just above Anthony, really. I mean, in terms of points for. So
Second fewest,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you're our second fewest, I meant to say, yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
to your point. I mean, it's possible you can go on a 7 game win streak without putting up a ton of points. So,
Yep. Yeah, man.
what is there? This is week 10, so we have 5 weeks
Yep.
left in the regular season. So, yeah, it's
Hmm.
fun. I mean, this is a fun time. This is an exciting
Right.
time when you're either you're on the top, you're just trying to like kind of coast your way in without it praying that there's no injuries, obviously. Or your team is
Yep.
just getting healthy and you're rounding out your rosters, like we said, and you're just like, all right, I got to go on a run. Let's go. So,
Yep.
and bye weeks for the most part, I mean, this is a tough bye week. I think there is what, 4 teams on bye, 5 teams on bye somewhere, or four probably, I think. It's got to be an even number.
Four.
Um,
I think it's the shit. I should have this. Like we can just look. It's Seahawks are on a bye, Packers
Packers,
are on a bye. Um, are those the only two teams?
no, I
Who's
guess
on a
there's
bye
five.
this is making for great listening.
Nah, it's okay. It's at the end of the pod.
Browns, Packers, Raiders, Seahawks.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say I knew it's an even number. So yeah, all right, I guess four.
Took
Not too
forever to
bad.
get. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
oh, cool, man. Well, that was a
Cool.
good
Yeah, dude.
good sesh for sure. I'm glad we did the power rankings, and I'm glad I like the format. I think
I
we'll
like
see
this
how the
format a
response
lot
is.
better. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
everyone will appreciate looking forward, and I think we always kind of allude to some of like the next this this player got hurt, or this guy's still pending. So it's good to kind of just touch on it more than
Hmm.
especially going into Wednesday. Like the week's already done. So
Yeah, for sure. We've turned the page on it. Actually, that's one of the things. That's why I actually really like Yahoo. Is that Tuesday morning it has when it has the standings updated, it's already on to the next
Hmm.
week, so you see who you play next week.
Yep.
ESPN is on a delay, so
Oh,
ESPN,
really?
yeah, ESPN I think runs the matchup on Thursdays is like the first day you can see your
Okay.
upcoming. It's very
That's
annoying.
weird.
Um,
I love that.
or it may be on a Wednesday. I can't remember, but it's cool.
Either
I
way.
like the Yahoo. You just kind of see it, so like you're definitely turning that page and you're getting ready for next week. So
Yeah.
I like the format of just like quick recap, touch on the big players, and then we actually
Yeah,
look
and
at,
we're
like you said, you can do like theory crafting and be like, how do you want to, what's the game environment like? Give our thoughts. I think that's good. I think that's
and we
like,
actually we do. I mean, I think it's still just yeah. Well, hey, it's a suggestion thing, but we also kind of broke down like, all right, you could play him or you could play him. Like we're kind of giving out some ideas. Which I mean, these managers at this point, everyone's thinking the same thing. So we're not giving any insider information to anybody. It's just an opinion, but I do
yeah,
think we do only run one pod a week though, so we can't try to cram a lot into
right. We
one
do
episode. So
we do give a lot. We do a lot on this, so
yeah,
it's
but we'll get it out. I like getting it out on Thursday. I should have posted it last Thursday during Halloween. It was so chaotic. I couldn't get it out
yeah,
till
yeah,
Friday morning, but
yeah, yeah.
I'll get it. I'll post it tomorrow morning so everyone has some ample time to kind of listen to it or drive and listen. I usually listen to it in the car, so
Yeah.
um it gives you guys some time before the weekend.
Hell yeah. Good deal, brother.
All right, man. Good luck. We'll talk
Yeah,
next
dude.
week.
Thanks. Starts tomorrow. It's gonna be a sick game tomorrow, dude. That's gonna be
Yes,
a
that's a
lot.
great. We're not really given too many good Thursday night games. I feel like in the year, at least like ones like this. So it'll be fun to like watch an actual competitive game for a change on Thursday night.
Yeah,
Or at
agreed.
least two good teams. I mean, this is a great. I mean, big matchup
Yeah.
for the Bengals too.
And why and like it's always sick to watch. Like Baltimore's like must watch. Their offense
Oh,
is insane.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're really. I mean, so is Joe Burrow at this point. I mean, so
Yeah. Yep. Hell
yeah,
yeah.
it'll be fun.
Yeah. Cool. All right,
All right,
brother.
brother. Peace.